Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I'm back with Tarini. So, Tarini is an entrepreneur. So, thank you very much for joining. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Lakshit. Very, very nice to be here today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. It would be great before starting anything. It would be great if you can tell us about what you do and all about your company. And yeah.
Great. So I am currently the co-founder of Dalal Street.AI. We are India's first trading advisory that uses sentimental analysis. So
Okay.
essentially, what we do is we are not a brokerage. We advise people based on artificial intelligence recommendations when they should buy and sell a particular stock. So we are trying to aid people to ease their journeys in the stock markets, ease their journeys while they're trading, and essentially, what we are trying to do is we are trying to bridge the gap for people, young people, people like you and I who are in the age group of 18 to 30 years old, who find it difficult to trade, who find it difficult to make that extra maybe pocket money
Mm-hmm.
or sort of income flow from the stock markets because, they either don't have the time or they don't have the knowledge or experience of doing that.
Okay. Okay. So, first, that's great. That's great to hear. And before starting anything, um, how did this idea come upon in your mind and how this all began? How was the formation of a company? And yeah.
So, Lakshit, that question, I can go on speaking for hours, but I'm going to try and keep it short. It's been very different to a normal story, but let me try and formulate it in a way that is not too confusing and I keep it short as well. So, essentially, me and my co founder, before we actually started the company, we did not know of each other at all. We met online. He's based out of Bangalore, I'm based out of Delhi. When we did come to know of each other, I was studying in the UK at that time. Both of us are from totally different interest fields, backgrounds, cities. Almost everything is different about us. We met on Angel List because we had a similar concept, we had a similar idea, but we had totally different skill sets, which made it perfect for us to actually start a company together. So essentially, he had faced his own hurdles when he started in the stock markets. But right now, I'll focus on the experience that I had myself because I can speak about that best. So my family has actually been into trading, investments, and the stock market for many years now. So when I was growing up, my all my growing up years, I was kind of very well acquainted with the stock market terminology and trading and all these concepts. And so when I kind of graduated from school, I thought that now it's time for me to set up my own demat account and start trading. And by then, I had already done so many online courses, so many webinars that try to explain how one should go about it. So essentially, I had done all these courses online. But when it actually came to setting up my demat account and actually taking these funds and investing or trading, I was still very blank, which is when I realized that there's still a very big gap in the market that persists. So when I went abroad to university, I studied at the Warwick Business School.
Mm-hmm.
I went to do a research and I came to understand that only 1.8% of Indians actually trade. And even within that 1.8%, the majority actually trade through their brokers, or they have fund managers that trade for them. So actually not even 1.8% of Indians are on their own trading, and these fund managers are very expensive to have. Then went to dig deeper and understood that people are not trading for very basic, simple reasons that either they don't have the time because they're working and studying, or sometimes doing both, or they don't have the knowledge. Something like trading, people take up for a long-term career, as their occupation a lot of time because you have to be so on the ball, with all the news updates that are coming through, with all the analysis. So came to realize that very basic reasons. So that's where this whole idea actually came about. And funnily so, since this company has, since the inception, it's been totally virtual with me and my co-founder being from totally different parts of India. Um, it began virtually. We have so many people working with us now who are across the globe. We have people from the US, the UK, Nigeria, UAE. So it's really a diverse bunch of people that we're working with. And yeah, that's really, to sum it up, that is how we started.
Okay. 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 And how would the starting phase of the company? What were things? How were the things going? And what did you experience? And what did you even learn? In the starting phase of that company.
Well, one thing that I would say, the biggest thing that I have learned, and the biggest thing that I would say is my strength today and the company's strength is that me and my co-founder, being totally unknown people, the one thing we had to do to build this trust, to build this level of comfort, to actually work together on so many hours a day together, was to be honest. So I come from a totally non-technical, non-technology background. I come from a more business, marketing, consumer behavior, that background. My co-founder is the one who's a lot more adept with technology, and those aspects. So I actually sat him down once, all virtual this is, by the way, and I was like, his name is Sri Vishnu. So I was like, Vishnu, I have to tell you that these XYZ is something which I have zero knowledge on, and you are going to have to hold my hand and take me through even the most basic concepts when it comes to XYZ. You're going to have to sit down and tutor me. You're going to have to hold my hand, but I can bring this to the table. And I'm not going to be able to bring this to the table. And if I bring this to the table, then I require your help. So
Mhm.
that's where we both realize that this honesty is what has kept us very efficient, very productive. He's been equally honest with me. Today, we are talking, we're in communication more than we are with even our family sometimes. So one has had to develop this sort of trust. In a business, especially with co-founders, it's very important to
Yeah.
first realize what is each other's skills. What is
Mhm.
it that everyone has skills, everyone has strength, everyone has weaknesses.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would say I learned was trust and the importance of being honest. And the second one was the importance of self-reflection. So if as an enthusiastic young person, I did feel at many times that, oh, so what, I can learn everything, I can be good at everything, I just have to put my mind to it and I can learn everything. But the fact of the matter is, I am no, I'm not some supernatural power. I do have some strengths, I do have some weaknesses.
Weakness.
And
Yeah.
when I realized my weaknesses, that's when I kind of understood that, okay, this is what I can bring to the table. And I can't bring these things. So what? So we can bring in someone who is qualified to do that,
Mm.
who has that as their strength. And that is called collaboration. And our entire company is actually bootstrapped by me and my co-founder. So we aren't funded at the current moment. We have a certain vision about when we want to get funded. And because of that, so many of the constraints that we've had, whether they've been financial, we've been able to overcome simply by collaborating with people who are interesting, who can bring something else to the table that we can't bring.
Mm.
So the second thing which I've learned is self-reflection, and that's another thing that's taken us forward because we've understood what we can do, we've understood what we can't do, and we've not only acknowledged it, but we've very happily accepted it, so that it's been easy for other people to come and bring their strengths to our table, and for us to flourish at a faster pace than if me and my co-founder started trying to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah, yeah, true. Okay, interesting. And you were speaking about using AI technology and telling and to how predicting the thing about stock market and trading. So how does that work, and how do you do that, and what's the whole idea about it?
So essentially, what we are doing, again, this is something which we can go on to a lot more detail, but to keep it simple, our algorithm does all the different forms of analysis that a fund manager would have to do to tell you when you should buy or sell a stock. So whether it's fundamental, technical, or sentimental analysis, that's what our fund manager does. And we as a company do believe that the way humans are functioning currently, because we are focusing our efforts into such uh, tasks that we don't actually require. For example, some very basic tasks that a human brain is wasting its energy to do, a machine can do it much faster, and that human brain can be used in a much more creative way to do things a machine can't do. So here we are not trying to say that we want to replace human beings with a machine, but
Hmm.
as a company we think that the humans have a lot more intelligence, a lot more creativity, that we are not being able to harness simply because we're doing such menial tasks, that we don't have the brain space to actually do the creativity that the humans are able to do. So essentially our algorithm does all these different forms of analysis that you would require to
Okay.
analyze your stocks and buy and sell. And what we are saying is that Trading should not become your full-time job or even your part-time job. It should be a side hustle. It should be something that you are not wasting your life doing. You're not wasting time doing. You can be an artist, you can be a doctor, you can be a psychologist, you can be a lawyer, you can be whatever you want, but you can also earn that extra side income because our machine is doing it for you, and your mind doesn't have to go on that because an algorithm can do it for you. And something, I did say in the beginning that we are India's first AI advisory that uses sentimental analysis. And what is sentimental analysis really? It's the sentiments within economy. It's the sentiments. What are people feeling about the stock? What are people feeling? What are the emotions? What are the thought processes? So if you think about it practically, it's not possible for a human brain to actually go through those thousands of articles, thousands of social media posts to tell you that this is the direction that the sentiments are going at this current moment. So that's where again our sentimental analyzer comes in and does it all for you, because it goes through thousands and thousands of different articles and posts to be able to tell you what is the sentiment at the moment, which again a human brain cannot be doing.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And how does this work? It's all about done by robot, or do you have somebody making these functions and all? How this work?
So essentially, how an algorithm works is it doesn't go without a human first point. So the algorithm will do what the humans teach it to do, and then it will work on that and build on that. So that is what we have to do. So it's not at all like the machine is doing everything on its own. We have a lot of technical people, we have a lot of advisors that are telling the algorithm and inserting into the algorithm all these various formulas and different techniques of doing so. Based on that, we are doing a lot of testing. So each formula we put in, each technique we put in, we test it for several months. We test it with several consultants, with several advisories, and then we kind of go into inserting it into our algorithm. So essentially, it's not just just the technology. There's a lot of human integration, and without the human integration, this technology would not be possible.
Okay, and did this like is it an idea you have already seen, or is it an idea which you got, or do we have anywhere else which these kind of ideas exist in the world?
So I'm not sure if you're very well acquainted, but there is something very popular nowadays called algo trading, where the algorithm trades on your behalf. So you insert a certain amount of money, and the algorithm does the entire trading process for you. But in a lot of countries, that is not. There's a lot of regulation to do with algo trading, stock markets, things like that, because essentially, again, it's just the human doing it for you. But we are not trading it for you. Our machine doesn't trade for you. It advises you based on these different forms of analysis that it does. It tells you why it's even giving you that recommendation. So you're not blindly just doing what it says. You know why, you're making that trade, why you're doing what you're doing with your money. So, personally, we believe that as much as artificial intelligence is becoming a hot topic, when it comes to actually trusting AI and technology with your money, there's a very small percentage of people who will be willing to do that. So we are trying to bridge that gap between algo trading and human trading, and we've come in the middle as an algo advisor who tells you why our algorithm has told you what to do. Because there's still a long time for people to trust AI with their money, their hard-earned money, their saved money, and so that's where we kind of come in.
Okay, okay. And this whole idea which we have in the country, I don't know about other countries because I've never studied about stocks for other countries, but as an economic student, I've been studying about this, that as in India, people are more interested to invest in gold, or more interested to invest in some kind of other thing, like a traditional method of. So do you think, as a country, it's going to take time for people to first, like, just get into trading, and then maybe explore new avenues of trading, like the way your company does it? And I think there are several other different ideas people have, and people would have other kind of companies. So do you think trading is going to take time for people to uh, look upon and adapt to, and just do it as I think a normal American or somebody else does it?
So, funnily enough, I'll tell you this data point that we came across a while ago. We went through it, we researched it even more to see whether it's actually true or false, and we came to the conclusion that this is true. So, out of all the demat accounts that are present in India, 70% of them are inactive, which means that a large portion of India actually does want to trade, but they're simply not trading for some very basic reasons, which is either they don't have the time or they don't have the experience and knowledge to do so. So Indians, when it comes to finance, I feel are far ahead, with certain aspects, accounts, finance, things like that, than
Hmm.
people abroad. And I can say that solely from my experience because when I did go abroad to study in the UK, some concepts like, just subjects like accounts, finance, things like that, people were doing from scratch. Whereas in India, in CBSE and ICSE and the Indian board, we had been already doing it for years before. So the Indians were far ahead. So when it comes to trading, I think there's no problem and there's no reason why people wouldn't want to do so. In fact, the figures do suggest that people want to, but they don't do it. So 70% of our demat accounts, so people go, they've actually gone, created their demat account, but they failed to do the trading bit of it. Why? Because either they don't have the knowledge to do, they don't know what to do after they've created the demat account. And again, that boils down into very simple reasons. So I don't see why it wouldn't accelerate given a viable option to people if they're given this support system, maybe something like ours, maybe something not like ours. Then there's a lot of room for trading and for it to become a big thing in India. Also, we have a very big millennial population,
Hmm.
young people between the age group of 18 to 30 who are striving to have that second, third, first flow of income, who want to make that extra pocket money on the side. But the reason they can't trade again is because they don't have the time, because everyone in this age group is either working or studying. So it all boils down to having a sort of support system to this trading practice, and then our figures will go up tremendously.
Interesting, interesting. That's really interesting to know about that. And how hopeful are you for the future about trading in India?
I think I'm very hopeful because, as I mentioned, we have a growing millennial population who is very aspirational. So, our population in India is very aspirational. Everyone wants to be the next leader, be
Hmm.
the next influencer. Everyone has a lot of passion, has a lot of ambition. People in India are very hardworking. If you if you take it historically speaking, we've been very hardworking people. And I feel like for trading and stock market it's going to be just a boom. And with this whole COVID situation,
My God,
I think it's been, sorry.
you're fine now.
Okay. So overall, I would say there's a lot of scope and a lot of hope for the stock markets and trading. In fact, during COVID, what everyone realized was that one source of income is just not enough to rely on. And that's why, if you see any of the trends and figures, there have been a boost in the number of people who've entered the stock markets, the number of people that have created demat accounts. There's been a really spike in that because people have realized that one cannot do with just one source of income. So overall, I think it's a great time for people to start investing, start trading. There's a lot of hope and a lot of potential in this space.
So yeah, like how do you think that we as a nation can change? But this the government every times, we have, I think we have heard Mr. Modi every time speaking that we have to concentrate on five. It's trillion, it's trading and what travel, and there's a lot of tourism and a lot of things. So how can the first one, the one T trade, can India achieve, or how can we make it achievable in 1 trillion economies, 5 trillion economies? That's the 1 trillion economy thing which he sees. So how do you think this is something we can achieve through trading?
Well, I think the kind of trading that he actually talks about is trading of goods and services with India and the rest of the world. So when it
Hmm.
comes to something like that, that really solely almost depends on what we bring to the world. So as India, what do we bring to the world? Whether it's good quality affordable labor or good quality
Hmm. Hmm.
affordable raw materials, or it's good. It's regulations that make it easy for people to trade with India. So what is it as a country that we offer to the outside world? If it's attractive enough, then that's when our trades will pick up in terms of our exports. When it's easy for companies to send their products to India and have in India as a consumer, that's where we'll pick up with the imports. So end of the day, it all depends on attractiveness. When it comes to trading in the stock market, that really depends on how well the companies are doing within our economy. If the companies are doing well, they are giving good returns, people will be encouraged to trade, people will be encouraged to enter the stock markets, and eventually how the companies do depends heavily on the government itself, whether the regulations they put, the rules they've put are helping the companies. If they're not helping the companies, the company performance will fall. They won't be able to pay their debt, they won't be able to meet their financial budgets. So everything is so interconnected. And the stock market, so we at Dalal Street, we do a lot of webinars for universities and schools and campuses. And I always tell people who are beginning in the stock markets and beginning their journey, I always tell them that look at the stock markets as though you're looking at any market in the world, whether it's the vegetable and fruit market near your house, or it's the shop, the mall, the malls around you. Think of it like that. There's a buyer, there's a seller, there's a regulator. There are so many stakeholders, external people involved within that market that you're going to. Think of the stock market just like that. And the same way, whether it's the Indian economy, to do with trading with the outside world, whether it's to do with the stock markets, everything is so interconnected. So when everything is in harmony, which is seldom is really, when everything is in harmony, that's when we'll kind of prosper. And to make trading in the stock markets and make trading to our country and out of our country, both things require the different factors to look very attractive to these buyers and sellers. So eventually, it does depend a lot on the government, on the different regulations they put forth, and yeah, things like that.
Okay, interesting. One question I just wanted to know about is how important is that? Do you think that a company, for an example, if we want somebody else to invest in our country, let it be in any kind of like it be in the Reliance or something, in any company, or if we want somebody to invest in our country, is it important that our people of our country also should invest in their country or in their companies, or in something else like that? Does that is required, as you have the knowledge of trading? Do you think that's also important?
See, everything is about give and take. So eventually, there has to be some sort of impact that that company or that country is getting from us as well. If they are investing in the company of our country, they obviously think that there is some good potential here, or there is some good return that they're going to make. So it's not necessary in the initial phases that we are also giving as much as we might be taking. But it could be that in the future, we are giving them and compensating for that. So it's not true that one has to give and take at the same time, at the same scale. It can be that if they are investing in Reliance, they do see some potential in the next 5 to 7 years, and in the next 5 to 7 years, Reliance will give them the kind of return and reward they are looking to get. So that's what I would kind of say to that.
Okay, great. Okay. And if somebody wants to uh, invest or wish to learn about investing, want to know about investing, what would be your recommendations to them?
So there are actually a lot of resources online that have been published. A lot of them are even free. Not all of them are paid. What I would suggest is take on a sort of mentor. You might find this person on LinkedIn. You might find this person in me. You might find this person in your family. It's very important when you're entering the stock markets to have a mentor of some kind who doesn't bias your mind in terms of how you trade, but takes you through the process as a supporting system. So for me, it was my grandfather who told me that when you're starting off, it's very important. His opinion was it's very important to understand fundamentals, rather than focusing on other aspects. And I went into studying that a lot, and for me, that piece of advice was very impactful, because if I didn't understand the fundamentals of a stock, it was almost useless to understand the other aspects of it. So you need someone to guide you, simply because there's so much available online. You don't really know what you as a beginner require to know at that point. So a lot of
Hmm.
people go into doing these webinars and courses that they actually need to know at level 5, not at level 1, and that's where there's a big kind of deficit, because you've not gone through level 1, 2, 3, 4, but you've already gone to level 5. So you need a mentor simply to advise you what kind of course, what kind of knowledge you should be gathering at what stage of your process. And funnily enough, since you brought this up, we are actually developing an entire platform that should be ready to go in the next month or so, where we take users through these levels based on what their level are. So for example, if they come to us as a newcomer, we have a certain level we take them through, and while they are also learning, while we give them access to all this content of, whether it's educational articles, books, webinars, while we suggest all these things to them, we are also on the side making them play a game, to also understand how the entire market works. So it's very important, I would say, for someone who's starting, is there's so much available online. You can just do a Google search, you'll find various courses online available. But the biggest piece of advice from my own experience is to have a mentor to tell you what to do when, and not to jump too fast without understanding the nitty gritties.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. And what's the right, like right now, which stocks are stocks you must invest in at the moment, and you see potential of getting some kind of return in the future?
Well, that's a question I almost always avoid answering because it's very subjective. And Lakshit, funnily enough, stock trading is a very personal thing. So when I say personal, it means what are you trying to get with trading? Are you trying to get quick returns? So you will invest in totally different types of stocks if you're trying to get a dividend, because not all stocks pay a dividend. If you're looking for quick returns, if you're looking for monthly income, you to invest in totally different stocks. If you are coming as someone who wants to trade or invest for a long term, and maybe after 10 years you actually want to get a lot of profit and you're not concerned about getting it at this moment, you would invest and trade in totally different stocks. So this is something that's very personal. In the last few months, I've seen a very great kind of return with pharma, of course, that's kind of obvious. And various things which one should just see what the economy is doing like at the current moment. And there's different types of trading, whether it's swing trading, day trading. So again, it's a very personal thing as to what you want to achieve with that. And if someone comes and asks me that, this is my kind of vision, this is what I want to gain from my trading experience in the next year, then I would be the right person to suggest kind of stocks to.
Okay, okay, okay. I totally get that. And what have you learned personally about trading and through trading?
Through trading. So I think one big thing which I've learned is patience. So you have to be very patient when you're trading, because there's news coming out every second. You're getting a news update which might change your entire perception or the performance of your stock totally. But
Hmm.
you don't know how long that news will actually impact it. So there might be a massive spike in the next 1 day or 2 days, but it might actually come back to the same level in the next 4 days or 5 days. So you have to be very patient and not work with impulse. And the second thing is that you have to be, if you have a certain strategy in mind, whether you are making immense losses at this current time or you're making immense profits at this current time, your strategy shouldn't change, because then you don't reach anywhere. Then at the end you don't actually accomplish getting any reward or return. So you have to be very clear in your vision. So when you start trading, or in life in general, through trading, this is what I've learned, that you need to be very focused. And
Hmm.
unless you're kind of focused on what your end goal is, not what you want to do every day, but what your end goal is, that's where you'll reach it. And if you don't know where your end goal is, you don't know what you want to achieve in the next 10 years, for example, you won't even know how to get there. So this is what stock market trading has really taught me, is that you need to first have a goal. You need to be very, very rigid and focused to achieve that goal. And you need to be very patient again to achieve that goal. So these three things I've learned while trading, but I can very easily, say that it's also impacted the decisions I make in life in general. My decisions are very different to what would have been before I started trading.
Hmm. Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's nice to know. Thank you for sharing that. So before ending up, what would be your message to anybody watching this or hearing this? What would be your message to them?
So I would just say that there's a lot of opportunity there out, in the world. There are a lot of interesting people. What I would say is don't hesitate because you feel like it might not be the safest option, or you feel like it might not be the logical option, because everything, the reason why I am where I am today, the reason why I've been exposed to so many interesting people like yourself, Lakshit, is
Thank you.
because I haven't kind of succumbed to that, where I thought that it might not be the most logical option. It's not the most logical option to start a business with someone you have no idea who the person is, or it might not be a logical option because you're so young, or there's so many things. But don't go with logics, really go with what drives you, what you are passionate about doing. Because you don't even have to be skilled to be able to develop something. You can develop the skills for it if you're passionate enough. So that's what I would say to everyone.
Okay, okay. So thank you, Tarini. It was wonderful having you. I enjoy, I'm exploring this part of the part
Mhm.
about stocks, and I just want to explore it more. And it was wonderful. It gave me a lot of insights and about a lot of things I learned from this video. And I will be learning and seeing it again. It's going to be great to see this and learn from this. Thank you very much for being here. It was wonderful to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lakshit, for having me here. Take care.